Hey everybody, welcome back once again to Welch's Math class. We are in Module 7 and we're talking a little bit about measurement and some of the things that go with measurement. What drew you to this video, I'm sure, is an application problem, a word problem that connects back into measurement. I want to use this problem as an opportunity, though, to talk about something even bigger than this individual problem. I want to talk for a second about critical thinking. Critical thinking. At Aiken Tech, we use a critical thinking model called ICADE, I-C-A-D-E. And that critical thinking model for I-C-A-D-E, ICADE, essentially comes down to 5 steps that we will work through in order to think clearly about how to answer a question or how to deal with a problem or an issue. So, to begin with, what we want to do with critical thinking is we want to make sure we identify the question. What is it we're being asked? What's the, what are they after? What do they want? Or maybe what's our goal? Or what's the struggle that has to be overcome? So we want to clearly identify what the question is. Once we've identified the question, we've got a clear picture of what we're after, then we're going to collect information around that question. Then we're going to analyze that information for how to use it to answer the question. So we're going to begin to, we've collected the information, now we're going to begin to look at the information to set priorities on, we need to use this information or that information, or maybe some can just be thrown out. But we'll analyze the information for how we're going to be using it to actually answer the question. Once we've analyzed it, we'll develop a plan to answer the question. And everything, remember, goes back to the question that we identified at the beginning. So we'll develop a plan, and then we'll actually work out the plan. We'll execute the plan. That's simply just working out the plan, doing the math in this case, and we'll evaluate the plan to see if our answer seems to be reasonable, makes sense. Now let's take this critical thinking format that we're using, and let's see if we can apply it to this problem that we've got right here. First of all, let's just read the problem and see if we can identify the question. Okay, so there's 24 lab stations in a science lab, and each station needs 7 feet of rubber tubing. Okay, tubing costs $4.75 per yard. How much will it cost to have tubing for all the stations? Okay, it's very clear here in this problem that the question we're trying to answer is how much will it cost? How much will it cost? So we're looking for a money answer. Looking for a money answer. We want to know how much it's going to cost. So now when we go back through and look at the information, we can sort of filter the information thinking about, okay, now how is that going to help me to figure out how much it's going to cost to have tubing for all the stations? How much will it cost to have tubing for all the stations? All right, now the information that we have. Well, first of all, we know that there's 24 stations. That's an important piece of, or that's at least a piece of information. Each station needs 7 foot of tubing. There's another piece of information. Now, tubing costs $4.75 per yard. There's a piece of information, and that's pretty much our information that we've got. Now, analyzing that information, thinking about how much it's going to cost, one analysis that jumps up at me, guys, is we have the amount of tubing we need listed in feet, but the cost of tubing is listed per yard. And so we've got kind of a disconnect right here between feet and yards. That's one thing I want to consider as I analyze this information. Another thing is maybe thinking about that there's 24 stations and we need 7 feet for each station. Okay, so analyzing, there's some very important information that feet and yards are kind of disjointed, that we got to have tubing for all the stations. Developing a plan. I think for me the best plan, and there's probably more than one plan you could develop, I think first I want to figure out how many feet of tubing I'm going to need altogether. I think that's going to be my first bit of work here. So if I got 24 stations and I'm going to have 7 feet of tubing for each station. 7 times 24. 7 times 4 is 28. Carry 2, 14, 16. So it looks to me like I need 168 feet of tubing. Now again, that's how many feet of tubing I need. I want to find out how much that's going to cost, but my cost is set out in how much it costs per yard. So my second piece here in my plan, I think, is to change my 168 feet equals how many yards? Equals how many yards? Okay, so I think my best way to go there is I realize there's 3 feet in a yard. So if I take my 168 and I divide that by 3, because there's 3 feet in a yard, it looks like I'm going to get 56 yards. Let me double check that figure on my antique calculator here. 168 divided by 3 equals, yeah. All right, so I'm looking at needing 56 yards of tubing. Now, tubing costs $4.75 per yard, so my next step, okay, so this was going to be my step 1, this was going to be my step 2. My third step is going to be to simply multiply my 56 yards times the cost per yard. All right, so I'm definitely going to pull out my handy dandy calculator for that one. 56 times 4.75 equals 266. Now what we're talking about then is the cost to buy 7 foot of tubing and make sure I got enough tubing for all 24 lab stations is going to be $266, and that'll get me exactly what I need, right on the money. And so I hope that's helpful to you in working this problem. I hope it's helpful for you to take a look at the critical thinking plan that we use. Identify, collect, analyze, develop, execute, and evaluate. And I will see you next time.